The league is in shock right now. Michael Jordan didn't just speak, he effectively slammed the gavel on the Kobe versus LeBron argument.
Kobe chased greatness, and this other guy, I don't have much to say about him.
Jordan made the hierarchy clear himself first, then Bryant. That is the decree from the throne. So right now we are dissecting the fine print. We're looking at the nuance, the metrics, and the cold, hard logic Jordan utilized to cement that stance. And if that rattles you, wait until we uncover the darker chapters of LeBron's pre-league rise. It changes the whole narrative. But first, you need to grasp the reality of who Kobe Bryant actually was. The man didn't simply play the game, he consumed it, he lived it, and he earned something rare. Unfiltered reverence from Michael Jordan. Not a polite nod. We are talking about a bond deep enough that Jordan labeled Bryant his little brother and actually picked up the phone when Kobe dialed in the dead of night.
We're very close friends. Kobe was my dear friend. He was like a little brother.
That's real. Bryant would ring Jordan at 3 in the morning just to talk mechanics, counter moves, and chess strategy. He needed to know how Mike dissected a defense-created separation and executed that iconic fadeaway. Remember, this was happening while they were rivals, battling for the same hardware? Just look at the dynamic between them. I see where you're headed. Can't let that happen. You gotta be quicker. You knew the play, so why bite on the fake? Where are your feet going? I'm aiming for the ribs right here. Spun right around and got you. Most guys would back down or keep their distance. Not Bryant. He treated the hostility like a classroom. He wanted to evolve, and he sought wisdom from the apex predator. And the homework didn't end with phone calls. The man trained like he was chasing ghosts. We're talking 4 in the morning. The world is dark. Silence is everywhere, and the rest of the roster is deep in REM sleep. He'd beat the janitors to the gym, then burn hours breaking down film after. Practice analyzing defensive slides and micro adjustments in footwork. He demanded a level of perfection from himself that was inhuman, and he forced that same burden onto his squad.
The people that I've always had issues or problems with are the people that don't demand excellence for themselves. I won't tolerate that.
Flip the coin to James, the talent is undeniable, sure. But the priority seems to shift toward the narrative, the brand, and the image. Above all else, that dilutes the respect factor. When guys looked at Bryant, they saw the Reaper, not because he was the biggest or quickest guy on the floor, but because they knew he was willing to endure more pain than anyone else in the building. Shattered fingers, ruptured tendons, injuries that end careers were just Tuesday for him. Jordan recognized that fire. Icons don't care about flash, they respect grit, discipline, and that killer instinct Bryant possessed. James has the stats, no doubt, but the energy is just different. Opponents respect LeBron's game, but they don't fear his heart the way they feared the Mamba. That's why Jordan's verdict carries weight. When the undeniable king of the court admires your sacrifice, the argument is effectively over. That cosign is deafening, unlike James, who many argue plays for the cameras. Bryant didn't care about trending topics. He chased mastery in the purest form imaginable. That is the divide. And speaking of distinct differences, Bryant didn't just thrive on obsession. He dominated an era that was violent, punishing, and far less hospitable than the modern league. People act like James has walked through fire to get here, but they have no concept of the gauntlet Kobe ran. The NBA during his ascent was savage. Not just rough, it was a street fight. Hand-checking was legal, meaning a defender could legally grapple you all night. Try sinking a jumper with Gary. Peyton or Pippen literally grabbing your waist and shoving you off your spot. That isn't hyperbole. That was the standard operating procedure. Whistles were swallowed. Protection for stars was a myth. If you couldn't eat glass, you didn't eat at all. And then there's the playing time, which is where the math gets scary. Load management didn't exist. Stars clocked 40-plus minutes per game on back-to-backs, even deep in the postseason against headhunters. The Lakers dynasty ran on those exhaust fumes. Meanwhile, in the current landscape, James might skip a matchup for rest or longevity strategies. Bryant didn't have that option. No medical staff begging him to sit. He had a bag of ice-pure grit and a refusal to lose. And the defense in Kobe's time, that era, a straight-up war zone, perimeter defense back then wasn't about sliding your feet. It was about mauling people, grinding them down. You had tough guys like Tony Allen later on, but back in the day, you were dealing with headhunters like Bruce Bowen and Gary Payton. These cats were out to inflict pain on every single possession. And if you actually shook them, good luck. They could hand check you into the ground and wreck your flow. Screens felt like running into concrete walls. One awkward fall meant you were on the shelf for a month. Kobe's mid-range game, his footwork, that icy killer instinct. Those were his survival tools in the chaos. Now this is where modern fans get it twisted. LeBron operates in what looks like a sanitized, over-officiated rec league by comparison. It's all pace and space exhibitions now. Defenders aren't allowed to breathe on you. Hand-checking is extinct. Superstars get marched to the line for the slightest graze, and the rulebook is rigged to keep them safe. Then you have load management treated like a religion, with teams monitoring every heartbeat, every step, and every REM cycle. The league wraps players in bubble wrap, and the scoring numbers? Don't get me started on that inflation. The tempo is hyperspeed threes are flying from the logo, and defenses have gone soft. Dropping 30 a night back then meant surviving a beating. Kobe earned those buckets through blood and bruises. Today, you get them because the system rolls out the red carpet for the offense. And what is wild, especially for those of us who witness the man work, is that people think they understand his greatness. But you don't get it until you dissect the resume. Let's look at the hardware. 5-time world champion, 2-time finals, MVP. He took home the regular season MVP trophy in 2008, an 18-time All-Star, 2-time scoring king, and he made the Pirate All-Defensive Squad 12 times. That means for over a decade, he wasn't just getting buckets, he was locking people down at an elite level. You can recite stats until you're blue in the face, but the reality is crazier. We're talking about the 81-point masterpiece against the Raptors in 2006, the second highest scoring performance in league history. And understand this, he did it against an actual NBA defense. That night, he drained 28 of 46 attempts, hit 7 threes, and still found time to grab boards and dish dimes. He didn't just play, he dictated every second. But hold on, it gets heavier. A year prior, he hung 62 on the Mavericks in just 3 quarters. He literally outscored their entire roster by himself before the 4th quarter even started. And if you think he faded late in his career, forget it. He bowed out in 2016 by dropping 60 points in his farewell game. I'm dead serious. 60 points at 37 years old. And the kicker. He did most of that damage in the second half. The man scripted his own Hollywood ending live on global television. But Kobe wasn't just a volume scorer, he was a technician. One of the greatest mid-range operators and footworks. Savants to ever lace them up. I'm talking about nuanced moves that had defensive stalwarts like Bruce Bowen, Ron Artest, and Tony Allen looking like they were chasing ghosts. Every fadeaway, every step back, every pull-up, it was all engineered through endless hours of film. Study, repetition, and obsession. And for context, look at the road he traveled. He came straight out of Lower Merion High School into the league at 17. While most kids his age were stressing over algebra or deciding what to eat for lunch, Kobe was stepping into the ring with grown men twice his age. Legends like Gary Payton, Karl Malone, and Scottie Pippen. And you know how he handled it. He didn't flinch. He outworked them in the gym. Out-hustled them on the floor and eventually forced them to respect the name. Everything he built, every highlight reel, every trophy, every staggering statistic was forged in sweat and pain. There was no Instagram hype, no manufactured brand, narrative, just a 17-year-old kid with a refusal to lose. He ground down veterans, sharpened his skills to a razor's edge, and made the world pay attention. Michael Jordan himself put it best.
Kobe made legends nervous, and this other guy only knows how to make headlines.
Let that sink in. MJ doesn't throw praise around cheap. But right there, he's basically confirming that Kobe operated on a different frequency of obsession and fearlessness. The deeper you dig, the undeniable truth comes out. Ask any legend who shared the hardwood with him, friend or foe, and the story is always the same. Kobe was exactly who he claimed to be, the Mamba. Look at Magic Johnson. He looked the world in the eye and said Kobe was the closest thing to Michael Jordan.
Break it down for us, because it seems like Kobe is the closest thing we've ever seen to MJ.
Molly, you're absolutely right.
Think about the weight of that statement. Magic ran with Kareem Worthybird. He knows greatness. And he's telling you Kobe possessed that same aura, that same ruthless killer instinct. Then you have Shaq. The Diesel spent 8 years in the trenches with Kobe, and he calls him the most relentless worker he ever witnessed. The greatest Laker of all time.
Kobe is the greatest Laker.
And here's the part that sounds like fiction. Even with the rings on his fingers, together Kobe would still push the Diesel to the breaking point in practice. This wasn't for show. Shaq admitted he couldn't handle Kobe's ferocity and genuinely feared what the man might do if nobody reined him in. Picture a 7-footer who dominated the league being nervous around his own guard. That's the intensity we're dealing with. But it goes deeper. D-Wade said Kobe operated on a different frequency than anyone else in the game. It wasn't just skill. Mentally, he was in the stratosphere. Wade spoke about the reverence and adoration. Kobe commanded off the hardwood. You could be strolling with another NBA icon, but the second the Mamba arrived, the fans would act like the other superstar didn't even exist. So I'm walking with Kobe through the Olympic Village, and that's when it hit me he was simply built different. The man could converse fluently in 9 different languages. He was chopping it up with rivals in their mother tongues. Even Allen Iverson, arguably one of the bravest scorers to ever lace them up, put it on record.
Right when you think, Mike's the greatest ever, what he is, Kobe Bryant come along.
Yep.
And that's no, I'm not LeBron. As far as GOAT, it's Michael Jordan all day long. And Kobe Bryant is right on his heels.
Listen to this. Gilbert Arenas, a man with an ego the size of the arena, openly admitted that checking LeBron was a breeze compared to guarding Kobe.
You guarded LeBron, you guarded Kobe. And what's your toughest matchup?
Well, Kobe will be the tougher matchup. And Kobe is the tougher matchup because he's way more relentless.
Agent Zero built his name on swagger and offensive wizardry. If he is telling you someone is a terror to defend, the rest of the league felt that pressure. It wasn't about the box score or the highlight reels. It was pure dread. Legends respected him. Opponents were terrified of him. Even his own squad knew if Kobe had the rock, you were finished. Flip the script to LeBron. People admire his game. Sure, but that fear factor, it just isn't there. James doesn't make a defender's blood run cold. The same way. The history books don't lie. Kobe was an anomaly. If you are trying to grasp why MJ, Shaq, Flash, AI, Agent Zero, and Magic all echoed these sentiments, it comes down to this: Kobe didn't just participate in the game. He dictated the terms. He broke players down physically and psychologically, forcing the opposition to evolve, fundamentally shifting how basketball was played. That is an aura LeBron could never replicate. Not in a billion years. You want evidence? Let's crack open the archives on some of the legendary performances that separate the Mamba from the King. Rewind to the 2003 playoffs against the Spurs. Kobe hung 36 points on them in Game 4. The kicker, he was playing on an ankle the size of a grapefruit. And here's one that gets buried under the massive scoring titles. 2007 against Golden State. Kobe torched them for 65 points, but get this, he did it on just 50 shots, and if that wasn't impressive enough, he was running the entire offense, cleaning the glass and playing lockdown defense simultaneously. Game 7 of the 2010 finals is another testament to his grit. Forget the flash, look at the fight. Yeah, he had 23 points, but he also ripped down 15 boards and put the clamps on Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett. He wasn't just getting buckets, he was in the trenches making the ugly plays that don't show up in the stat sheet. That war ended with purple and gold confetti. Watching him in that series, you understood why the league genuinely feared him. Let's talk about ice in the veins. 2008 Game 5 against Denver. Kobe drops 35 and buries a fadeaway with 1.5 seconds left to force overtime. This wasn't a lucky heave. Haswaitis dragged that roster through double overtime against a chaotic defense while a hostile crowd tried to pray for his downfall. That is the Mamba mentality. And we can't ignore February 2016 Lakers versus the Spurs. Kobe dislocated a finger so badly it was pointing sideways. Instead of heading to the locker room, he calmly walked to the sideline, had Gary Vitti snap the bone back into the socket, and checked back in like he just tied his shoe.
He dislocated his finger, and it can be really, really difficult. Finally, it goes back into place, and then as soon as it goes in, he was gone. Like I patted him on the head, like, okay, it's going to be okay. Next thing I know, he was he was gone. That in and of itself showed the toughness and the tenacity of Kobe Bryant.
2013. He ruptured his Achilles, a career ender. He still stood up and sank 2 free throws before walking off under his own power.
So Kobe Bryant cannot continue. But he's going to shoot the free throws.
Contrast that with LeBron's so-called toughness. Remember Game 1 of the 2014 Finals? LeBron gets a leg cramp and has to be carried off. Here's how that went down.
On the bench as well, so good crossover by James, and on the landing, immediately cramps up.
Doris?
Mike, I continue to use this handheld thermometer.
And that is the guy you want to crown. Comparing that fragility to Kobe is straight up disrespectful to the art of the game. When you strip away the hype and look at the heart, Kobe stands alone. Let's get real about what actually defines a legend. You look at the defensive resume and it's not even a debate. Kobe made the all-defensive team 12 times. LeBron, he plateaued at 5. Bryant was a complete nightmare for anyone trying to initiate an offense. LeBron plays defense, sure, but nobody is. Losing sleep the night before a game, worrying about James locking them down the way they feared the Mamba. Now, let's look at the bucket getting. Kobe's apex was 81 points in a single night. LeBron peaked at 61. But forget the numbers for a second. Look at how those points were manufactured. I'm talking about fadeaways, contested mid-range daggers, and footwork that belonged in a ballet. That isn't just putting the ball in the hoop. That is high art. LeBron relies on brute force, clearing out the lane and running people over. Kobe built his legacy on technical skill, relentless grinding, and pure obsession. And if you want to talk volume, Bryant dropped 40 or more in 122 games. He cracked the 50-point barrier 26 times. That includes playoff battles against elite lockdown defenders. LeBron. He has only managed 79 games with 40-plus, and just 15 games hitting the half-century mark. And realize Kobe put up those numbers without lingering in the league for over 20 years. Like James, without the crutch of super teams, and without these soft modern rules that handicap the defense. Frankly, Bryant's mid-range package, his pivot game, and his capacity to suffocate teams in the clutch remains untouched. James is an athletic freak, no doubt. But if we are discussing killer instinct, the fear factor, and executing with pure skill, when the pressure is suffocating, Kobe takes that round every time. The analytics back it up. But here's where the conversation gets interesting, because spreadsheets only tell half the story. The character, the makeup of the man, that is where the paths diverge. Kobe had a singular purpose basketball. He operated in the shadows. No cameras, no curated Instagram captions, no side hustles. Trying to build a global conglomerate. He didn't do it for the applause. He didn't do it for the hype. He did it because he was obsessed. Kobe let his game do the talking and tuned out the static. But LeBron. It is a completely different universe. Every move is calculated for the image, the brand, and the narrative. The decision in 2010 was one of the most bizarre spectacles in sports history. He didn't just leave, he crushed a city's spirit so thoroughly that people took to the streets to burn his jersey. The toxicity level was off the charts. Dan Gilbert, the Cavaliers' owner, famously penned a letter calling LeBron a coward. And if we are being honest, a lot of folks felt that assessment was dead on. Look at the China controversy in 2019. The Rockets' general manager tweeted support for Hong Kong. LeBron publicly called the man uneducated, effectively prioritizing his shoe sales and business interests over standing up for basic civil liberties. The pattern continues. Look at his 2021 tweet regarding the Mamba Bryant shooting involves a police officer. What was the play? To avoid upsetting the power brokers and to protect his curated reputation, he deleted. The post then followed up with a PR cleanup statement. It makes you think Gilbert wasn't too far off with that coward label, and here's the chapter most people conveniently gloss over. James has been skirting the regulations since day one. Back when he was just a high school kid, he was rolling around in a custom Hummer H2 with televisions and King James stitched into the leather. That was a clear violation considering amateurs couldn't accept gifts over $100. The situation blew up so big, that the Ohio High School Athletic Association had to launch a full investigation. His mother claimed she financed it, but everyone knew the score. A few days later, he gets caught accepting 2 vintage jerseys worth $845. He actually got suspended and had to return the gear. Picture that, already breaking the rules before he even stepped foot on an NBA court. So yeah, Kobe lived and breathed the game while LeBron was busy managing headlines. Crisis PR and his portfolio. Now I know the James apologists are ready to swarm the comments. With the standard script on why they think he is the greatest, they will scream LeBron played longer. His total points are higher. Yeah, I have heard the talking points. But let's dissect that. When you actually peel back the layers, those arguments are hollow. First, the longevity defense. People love to mention that James has logged more seasons. Sure, staying healthy is a skill, but sticking around doesn't automatically make you the superior player. Kobe spent a decade as the undisputed king of the hill, carrying heavy rosters and hanging banners without the massive advantages LeBron enjoyed later on. James needed 2 decades, 3 different franchises, and a constantly shifting narrative to chase what Kobe built naturally. Then there is the cumulative scoring argument. Listen, if you designate yourself the greatest and you hang around long enough that your own son is sharing the locker room with you, racking up the most total points is just a matter of math. So when someone drops the LeBron played longer line, or LeBron has more total points, that is the only ammunition they have left in the chamber. At the end of the day, if you ask the basketball purists, the guys who watch Jordan Bird, always desperate to validate the narrative, but strip away the noise. Consult the purists, the ones who witnessed the absolute dominance of Jordan Bird. Johnson and the Big Diesel. The consensus is ironclad. The Mamba stands alone on a summit this contender will never even approach.